Hello, this is Teach Philosophy. I'm in the process right now of building a website called Lucid Philosophy. It'll have a free logic course, a free ethics course, and lots of fun, very fun quizzes. So check out lucidphilosophy.com. As I was building this website, and I still am, so check it out, I noticed I had videos up for almost all the logic lessons on YouTube, except for the first and simplest lesson, which is what is an argument. So that's the purpose of this video. All right, so what is an argument? Well, first, let me say this video is mostly a vocabulary lesson, and because it attaches philosophical vocabulary to the rational thinking that you already do on a daily basis. So what do we mean by argument? Well, we philosophers use the word argument in a different way than most people use it in everyday life. So in philosophy, an argument is not a disagreement, and it's not a yelling match like you might see on the show Cops or something. Okay, an argument is a claim called a conclusion supported by other claims called premises. So the conclusion of an argument is what you're trying to prove, and the premises are the evidence for the conclusion. So consider the following argument. Premise 1, the universe is either infinite or it has a beginning. Premise 2, the universe cannot be infinite. And the conclusion is the universe has a beginning. So if you look at these arguments, they're kind of like math problems. When you add up the premises, they supposedly equal or support the sum that is the conclusion. And notice too that every argument has exactly one conclusion by definition. But it may have any number of premises. It has at least one premise, but can have 10, 20, 30 premises. So by definition, an argument has one conclusion and one or more premises. It also has something invisible called the inference. Okay, and the inference is the reasoning from the premises to the conclusion. And inferences are very important in logic, as we'll see later. So let's get some practice identifying the conclusion and the premises in some sample arguments. Take a look at number 1 and 2 here. Number 1, the universe must be infinite. So they're disagreeing with the first guy, right? The universe must be infinite since there would have to be an uncaused first cause if it had a beginning, and an uncaused first cause is impossible. And then argument 2 says, if there were an infinite timeless God, finite minds could not grasp this God. Therefore, the failure to grasp God is evidence for God. Interesting, right? Okay, number 1. The conclusion there is the universe must be infinite, and it's underlined in the slide in front of you. It is followed by 2 premises, right? There would have to be an uncaused first cause if it had a beginning, and an uncaused first cause is impossible. Take a look at number 2. The conclusion is the second sentence. The failure to grasp God is evidence for God. And hopefully what gives it away is that word therefore. Therefore is what we call a conclusion indicator. Conclusion indicators are words like therefore, or it follows that, or consequentially, or their phrase is like, it follows that. And they tell us a conclusion is coming. All right, let's take a look at number 3. God probably does not exist because there's so much gratuitous suffering in the world. And then number 4, water is gentle, but it can erode the hardest of rocks. Therefore, you will effortlessly achieve when you act gently. So see if you can identify the conclusion and the premises in these 2 arguments. And on this slide, you see the answers. For number 3, God probably does not exist is the conclusion. And then it says the premise, which is there is so much gratuitous suffering in the world. And a big clue there is the word because. Because is a premise indicator because it indicates, you guessed it, that a premise is coming. Okay, and there's other premise indicators like because, since, or given that. There's a whole list of them that you can see on one of these slides a little later. Okay, number 4, water is gentle but can erode the hardest of rocks, and so on. Okay, the conclusion is the second sentence, and the word that gives it away is therefore, right? And that's derived from Taoism, a beautiful philosophy to read about. Okay, number 5, it says, all men are mammals. Todd is a man, so Todd is a mammal. This is one of those exciting arguments you find in logic books. Okay. The third sentence is the conclusion, and the first 2 are the 2 premises. And the word so, you can see, is a conclusion indicator. So that's it. That's all there is to to identifying arguments. That's all it takes, right? Now on this slide, you can see a very long argument. Okay, so usually when people are writing in philosophy books or papers or editorials in the newspaper, they might write 3 or 4 pages, but their argument, as you can see on this screen, can be reduced to 2 or 3 statements. 2 premises and a conclusion, or 3 premises and a conclusion. Okay? And that's what you do when you're thinking logically. You reduce it to its logical structure, which has one conclusion and at least one premise. All right, so let's talk about the application and value before concluding. So as you do philosophy, it's important to clearly identify the premises and conclusion for each argument. This takes time and effort, but you should accurately identify the arguments before evaluating them. It improves the quality of discussion and helps you avoid straw men. So if you want some more practice or you want to read what I just said, check out lucidphilosophy.com and take the fun quizzes too. They're very fun. Trust me. Thanks.